Hi, and welcome to Sick Biz Business Course, module number 5. On this module, we're going to be talking about networking. The first thing that I want to tell you about networking is that I am not a self-made woman, and I can recognize that. I don't think there's anybody out there who is a self-made man or woman, so I want to pay homage to some of those connections and share with you that it all has to do with networking. So I wouldn't have grown to the degree that I have. I wouldn't have improved my business or added services, specific services to my business if I hadn't been in contact with various people in my networking. So that came from me, but that also came from other people believing in me. It can be scary to reach out to people and ask them to believe in you. I like to have my work speak for itself. And I've really found that to be true. It's almost like a secret of the universe. Nike is right on it when they say just do it. When you just do it over and over and over again, you're going to have people that say, hey, you know what? I trust this person. Also, this is interesting. Implicit in luxury marketing is the circle of trust. So typically what happens is that a wealthy person, a person who can and will pay you, for example, as we talked about when we're identifying our ideal customer, that type of person is not going to say, hey, you know what? I need a copywriter today. I guess I'm going to open up this magazine or I'm going to go to this website and I'm going to research this myself. No, they're going to reach out to their friends and they're going to say, hey, I know that you've got a business that's going really well, and who are you using that you like and that you trust? And that's how you get business. That's how you get business from that sector. It's those referrals that are coming in that are built on trust. When you get into those upper echelons and you start working with people that have a little bit more money and that are not going to balk at the prices, what you're also going to find is that there's a smaller inner circle of people who take care of each other. And so I encourage you to think about that too as you're thinking about networking. But most definitely without networking, I wouldn't have gotten my business to the point that it is today. So you're a self-made man or woman, but at the same time you do the work. So make sure that you also give yourself credit for taking the steps that were needed, for doing the networking, for doing the work, for being committed to providing the quality work. That's what will move you ahead. In terms of networking, there's a number of different people that I've worked with, as I've mentioned, a couple of different publishers. So when I met one publisher, what we had to do is we had to decide, what does it look like to work together? And meaning we're going to define not only the pricing on this deliverability, but what does that mean? So we identified a number of different packages that he could offer as the publisher that I would exclusively work on. So if I'm doing partial ghostwriting, for example, what's the price for that? What percentage of the ghostwriting am I doing in this book? How long is this book based on word count? And assuming that there are 250 words a page, if we're then talking about page count. Do I have to do the research for this book? Am I conducting interviews for this book? How long is the process likely going to take? We needed to define all of those different questions so that we both knew, this is your expectation, this is my expectation. So when we talk about this, we really mean this. Okay, great, we're on the same page with it. Let's move forward. That's wonderful. Another publisher, it was critically important for her that she had her subcontractors and her editors say, I am giving you this estimate to the best of my ability. This needed to even be on our invoices. So I had to find out for her, what does that mean? I'm saying I will edit this book at X amount of cents per word count. So she did things totally differently, but it didn't mean that we couldn't come to an agreement and say, I'm going to be one of your editors that I want you to go to when you have a book. And we've defined what that looks like when I work for you delivering this package, when I work for you delivering this package, when I work for you doing this work, etc. This is what it looks like. When you define those expectations, you're actually defining success. What does success to both of us look like? So get those two things going. And I urge you, in terms of networking, to listen to your gut too. A lot of times we'll have a great idea and we'll go, wow, that's a great idea. I should really work with that person. I'm super excited about this prospect. And then other you comes in and says, well, what, you're just going to embarrass yourself. You don't want to do that. Don't do that. They're not interested in hearing what you have to say. And, they likely have a team of people. And so you're not going to be taken seriously. Why would you not reach out to them and express interest? At the very least, it's flattering. Sure, maybe it doesn't go anywhere. That's all right. Lots of things don't go anywhere. Do you know how many times I've pitched myself? How many times I've said to somebody, I think we should work together, and they go, yeah, you know what? Yeah, I think that'd be great. And they just never come around to it. Well, I'm trying to move out of this, or I'm not really looking to hire right now, or yeah, go ahead and send me your stuff. Then they turn into a ghost. It's not going to happen on one or two business touches. It's not going to be like, oh, I'm going to reach out to this publisher. Everything's going to go great. They're going to use me all the time. I'm going to make $1 bajillion. You're going to have to work it. You're going to have to work at those relationships. You're going to have to get to know these people. They're in your circle. These are your new remotely placed coworkers. They're the people around the water cooler. They're the people in the cafeteria. They're the people at the lunch table. They're in your circle. You're going to be working with them. You're going to see what they're up to. You're going to connect with them, likely in a friendly manner, in a personal manner that's going to go beyond just working together. So make sure that you're defining, what does it look like to work together so both of us understand it. That's important before you move forward. Those types of opportunities are why I want you to work on networking every single day. It can be one person that you reach out to. One person can make that difference. In talking with the job placement agency that connected me with a national hotel chain, and they had said, there's no copywriting right now, but I know that this team does it periodically, and there might be an opportunity later. How about you start with some data, do some analytics? What if I had said no? 3 years down the drain. I was pricing myself at $25 an hour as a copywriter at that point. And I decided to sit back and just hear what this client had to say. And he said, you know what, we'll start you at $75 an hour. And I remember it was summer, and I went out and sat on the porch, and I just let the feeling sink in. I was quiet, and I let this person come to me with what they felt they could offer. And it was perfect. And it resolved so much for me, and it eased my mind. And so this is why it's important to listen. This is why it's important to make sure that when they say this, when they're talking about this type of job, I expect this is what's going to happen. And both of you have to be able to fulfill those expectations. Both of you have to be able to come to the table and say, hey, I know you said this, and this is what we agreed on, and so here is what we talked about. I'm keeping my word. When you both keep your word, then you're building a relationship. Is it awkward? Absolutely, sometimes. And for some reason, I can't find my voice when I have opportunities come to me. It's not all the time, but for some reason, I don't know if I'm tired or I'm just not feeling particularly clever, but I have had referrals come to me, and I'm not really thriving on the small talk, and I just get right into it, and then I kind of make fun of myself. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm pretty awkward. You know, I'm that person who says, if I were single, I would be the person, if I was interested in somebody and they talked to me, I'd be like, hey, do you like bread? You know, that would be my, that would be my gig. And sometimes you just have to embrace that. Sometimes you just have to embrace being a person. What's the worst that's going to happen? Are they going to run you out of town, beating on garbage can lids and chase you down the street? No, they're not going to do that. They might have a little awkward laugh, or there might be a little bit of an awkward moment, but you can also use that to build on. You know, and they might say back, hey, yeah, you know what? I'm awkward too. I don't do this business kind of networking well. It doesn't mean you don't do it. It means you do the best of your ability. Because even the awkward networking is going to move you forward. And you need to do it. You don't get to give yourself an out in any of these things. If it's not comfortable, you know, it's like my producer, Robert Wiseman produces the Sick Biz Buzz podcast. He goes, you know, if you're not comfortable with it, that means you need to do it more. And I think this is exactly that case. If you're not comfortable with it, put yourself out there more. I guess the feeling is get good at being uncomfortable. But maybe you could also say improve upon being uncomfortable, or sit in the discomfort until you feel comfortable. And it's more a matter of telling yourself the messages that you need to hear. I'm not comfortable doing this, man. All right, let's do it. It flies in the face of common sense. We want to run and hide. We want to sit in the closet. We want to have the deals come in, but on our terms without saying anything. And that is just not going to happen. You have to push yourself. So I'm not changing you in this module. I'm encouraging you to push yourself and accept yourself exactly as you are. Somebody out there is going to be like, look at that magnificent creature. They're completely uncomfortable and awkward. I can't wait to work with them. Look at me tripping over my tongue half the time. I'm still doing it. This is the imperfect action that I want you to embrace. Imperfect action is going to take you so much further. It's going to take you, well, it has to take you further than analysis paralysis, which is when you overthink things and then you retreat because you don't want to take chances. Imperfect action will move you forward. Analysis paralysis is going to keep you stuck. It's going to keep you in lack. It's going to keep you in scarcity. It's going to allow your feelings and phobias about running a business to grow. It's going to stop abundance. It's going to stop prosperity. That's what it does. So we have to know, what are the tools to move forward? And one of the biggest tools is just to do it. You're going to do it unglamorously. This is part of the unglamorous part of business. It's not about having an Instagram slicked up page that looks great all the time. It is about work. All of success, unless you're a Kardashian, can be traced to work. It's showing up and doing the work. That's it. I know it's not sexy. I know it's not. So some examples of networking. I like to break it down into, and I'm sure you can see this by now, maybe this is because I'm an editor, but I'm kind of an outline whore, if you will. So I like to break it down into easily digestible chunks. Where am I doing my networking? How am I doing my networking? First of all, we talked about an overlap of personal branding. So we're in the age of personal branding overlap right now, meaning that people want to do business with people and not companies, and this is greatly beneficial to you. There are different places that you can do your networking. We're going to start out by talking about the online places. Obviously, Facebook, right? Raise your hand if you have a Facebook post. If you have a business, you almost need to have a Facebook account. And if you if you don't have a Facebook account and you don't have a business, like, I'm sorry, are you even a human being? That sounds terrible, but people are relying on these platforms to look up information on people and things like this. And when you have a business, you have to have a place for people to go. So Facebook is a great place to network. You can learn a lot about people. There's a severe overlap between what people are doing in their businesses, who they are online, and this is how you get to find out more about them. And do you want to work with them? Are they embodying what's important to you? You can make decisions on working with people based on their personality, based on their politics, based on whatever. But the point is that it gives you a lot of information. It's a wonderful user-friendly platform as well, as I'm sure you know. So I encourage you to network on there. You can look at the different people that your friends are interacting with this and see if any of those people would be good additions to your circle. That's one way. So Facebook is fairly self-explanatory. Always check out the groups and make yourself the expert in the groups. LinkedIn is another option. LinkedIn is super important, and it is often overlooked because LinkedIn is like a business conference call. And you've been on these, so you know it's either everybody talking at once or it's nobody talking for a super long period of time, and then somebody awkwardly says something, or two people talk at once or whatever. And so LinkedIn is the landscape of the ultra careful business person. You've got the persona on there. It's typically a professional headshot, etc. And people are afraid to speak out on LinkedIn. You'll see the people who speak out are the ones that are typically the leaders in their field, and they take advantage of the fact that a lot of people are not speaking out on LinkedIn. And when you do speak out, when you do post something, I used to post an article because for a long time I did blogs, for a long time, for years on end. And so I just started posting an article every day, and I don't mean like a link. I created an article within LinkedIn's options. They have an option to create new content. Do you want to create a post, or do you want to create an article? If you're creating an article, then you are including a picture, you're editing it so that it fits the feature image size, you're copying and pasting the blogging information, you're highlighting some of the content in like a subheading number 2 or whatever. You're putting in a call to action and sharing that. And I did that every day for a very long time. And what that did for me is because I was in my group, and it's not like nobody else was posting, but the percentage of people who were posting was low. So I became a person that started posting, and then people were like, oh my gosh, well, she's posting, I'm going to pay attention to her. And it's not that I was writing groundbreaking content. I simply was sharing. I was being daring enough to share the content. And that was it. That was super important. So LinkedIn is awesome. And I want to encourage you to get in there and get a little muddy in LinkedIn, because the majority of the people who use LinkedIn have 6-figure plus incomes. That means they can afford you. If they're willing to pay you, that's an entirely different thing. But at the very least, you've checked a box and they can afford you. You can network virtually anywhere, but those are my 2 main biggies that I want to talk about. So keep cultivating and keep networking. You can network on Instagram if you want to. I do that sometimes, not very often. Like the people that I network with on Instagram is like my tattoo artist. So, but essentially you can network anywhere, and that's what I want you to do, is work on that. Now, the proper way to network, however, is something that a lot of people don't really take part in, or they don't execute. And the proper way to network, it really comes down to just giving a crap about a person. I worked with a PR firm. It was a crappy PR firm. This was back in 2016, I believe. and I was doing some editing of some video scripts and things of that nature. And so, of course, I was able to watch these videos. And what was being advocated for was that you connect with somebody, and then but the goal was to get something from them. So it was like a 1, 2, 3, very crude date. You know, date number 1, hey, how are you? What's going on? What do you do? Date number 2, oh yeah, you know what? I guess we'll learn a little bit about each other. Date number 3, right to the sack. And that's not what you want to do. First of all, it's not okay not to care about people in your network. It's not okay. You have to take the time in the content that you're sharing, in your Facebook posts, in the groups that you're in. You have to actually take the time to care about your circle and your network. That's why I encourage you to research it. I encourage you to get excited about the people that are coming into your network. They're potential friends. You know, and I know my husband says, well, you're way too friendly with your business people. But you know what? That's kind of who I am. This is what has worked for me. I know I'm going to be working with those people. It's no different than when I worked at the furniture company and we all sat in cubicles, you know, and we knew we had to work together, and we're celebrating birthdays together, and we're collaborating on projects together, and we're having meetings together. This is no different. These are your coworkers, potentially. If you assign them that, if that's how you think about them, that is what works for me. I celebrate birthdays. I share stuff that I think is inspiring and awesome. Anything that I discover that helps me, I want to share with my network. And I take the time to actually give a crap about them, ask about them. How are they doing? What's going on? Is their kid still sick? You know, did your husband go skydiving? How'd that go? You have to be informed. When you take the time, people know that you care. And that is how these fruitful relationships develop. So I'm not going after it and saying, well, I'm going to let this person know I actually give a crap about them, because then they're going to give me like just a ton of business and that's going to be totally great. I'm talking with them. I'm interacting with them because I care about them. I think that's one of the beautiful parts of networking, and it's what people are getting wrong. They're so in this state of scarcity or lack that they just go right for the kill. And business, prosperity, abundance, enough for everybody is going to result if we care about people. So that's what I want you to think about. How are you networking right now? Where are you networking? Are you making a habit? And are you letting people know that you care about them? If they know that you care about them, they're going to believe that this level of caring spans your entire life. It goes into your work. It goes into all sorts of relationship cultivation. It goes into your convictions that you say you're going to do. You say what you say you're going to do, you do. That's what's important. That's what you're getting across when you network correctly. Now, your ideal customer that we briefly talked about is going to be the person that you're going to include in your networking. So make sure as you're networking that you're not just throwing stuff out there for people to take advantage of, or who are not going to lift you up. So it's not just a matter of, hey, I care about you, but it's also a matter of what are you getting back. This has to be a reciprocal relationship. That's an important factor. Finding your ideal customer, networking with your ideal customer, networking with an ideal affiliate partner, potentially, networking with people who make sense for you and your business is only going to help you to be more profitable, even as you completely enjoy the hell out of yourself because you've made some really good friends and everybody's helping each other. Now, if you're not locking into a relationship with your ideal client. You're not finding people that are really, that shouldn't be there. You're not finding people that need to be there in your network, but you're really earmarking people that shouldn't be there in your network. This, you can become aware of this when you're not selling well. You can become aware of this when everything's kind of stagnant, because that means that you're in a group of people who aren't seeing your value, or if it's not that they're not seeing your value, they don't need what you're doing. So you can still be friends, but you need to then dial back on the expectation that it's really going to go anywhere. I've made lots of friends this way. We started out saying, hey, do this. Oh yeah, I do this. That'd be great. Let's talk about it. You know, and it didn't really go anywhere. That doesn't mean that I cut them off and I say, well, you know, you can't serve me, so you're out and that's it. No, it just means that I take a look at how am I spending my time, and as I get my name out there, you know, if I make a connection, where's that person going to fit in the overall scheme of things? Are they going to be a potential client? Are they going to be a potential partner that I work with? Are they going to be over here like, I'm really glad to meet you, but we're just going to talk about each other's dogs, I guess. And that's fine. But you do want to make sure that you are leveraging your network. So I'm not here to advise you on, hey, go out there and make friends and personally increase the joy in your life, in that section of your life, in that friend segment of your life. That's not what we're here talking about today. So you need to know that ideal customer. You need to know that they're going to pay you and they're willing to pay you, but also that potential exists within the relationship. So if you identify potential doesn't exist, well, okay, great. You never know, because everybody's changing, and down the road, I've had people that I thought would be an instant connection with, and we'd start doing things and whatever. And it wasn't until 2 or 3 years later that, as we're continuing to talk, things are falling into place on a different level. So then it's time to work together. Maybe it never is. In any regard, the quality is what I want you to focus on when you're filling up your circle. So you may know a lot of people, but maybe you're only close with 3 or 5 people. Totally fine. That's my life right there. I have a lot of business connections. I have a lot of business friends, but that doesn't mean I can't still retain my intimate level of friendship and relationships in my life. So I'm not advising you to be a network whore either. I've used whore twice in this video. It's really breaking the ice on video number 5. When you're building your network across your social media platforms, so we talked about Facebook, LinkedIn, we talked about Instagram a little bit. I'm hearing that people are finding deals on Instagram. I'm hearing that there is a way to latch on to that. And it's not that much different from Facebook, but the exchange is maybe a little bit different. You can strike up conversations in the Instagram platform, and there's definitely a messaging application that you can use, but make sure that you're applying the same sort of the background work that you've done to identify who am I talking to, why am I talking to them, what category do they fall into, how can I help them, can they help me at some point. Just fall back on what you know. You can do the same thing with Twitter as well. So you can use any multitude of platforms or avenues or whatever you want to call it, venues, to meet people, connect with them, and keep going. You might get emails. You might get a snail mail letter. I highly doubt it, but you might. You might. When you have a successful network, you can start being a connector. This is a really cool thing. So not every opportunity is made for you. So you can start being a connector. You can connect people and say, hey, this is not really my bag, but I wanted to give it to you because I know that you're better suited for it. I know you're super talented, and I thought that you would like to get to know this person. And so I'm handing off this opportunity to you. Now, you can do one of two things. You can ask for a referral fee if you want to. You could ask for like a 10% referral fee. That's fine. You can just give opportunities away. More often than not, I just give opportunities away. There's been a couple of maybe 5-6 times where I've asked for referral opportunities, but more often than not, I see my role as giving away that what is not meant for me. And sometimes I'm not supposed to be the recipient of the abundance. I am just supposed to be the messenger. And because I've worked on building my network, now I can be the connector, which is really cool. Also within your network, as you're building it successfully, you can then begin to leverage it, which is super duper cool. So if you do something like write a book, if you're launching a new product or service, you can ask people in your network because you've taken the time to care about them and cultivate and support what they're doing. But you can ask them and say, hey, I did this new cool thing. Can you help me advertise it? Can you help me connect with people that will make a difference in it, in its longevity, in its successfulness? And you start to leverage that network and you'll get going a lot farther. You'll connect with new people that, oh sure, so-and-so, do you know this person? Oh, you don't? Well, I'd be happy to make an introduction. They do what you do, but they do it this way, so you guys can probably help each other out, and I know they'd love to help promote you. These are the types of opportunities that fall into your lap. They're not going to, when you do the work, they're not going to fall into your lap if you don't get over the awkward feeling. I also don't want you to worry about, I'm going to put this delicately. I'm wearing a tank top that says courageous and strong and some other stuff on it that makes me feel really motivated. My hair is not professionally styled. I am not in a marble office in downtown Minneapolis with Greek pillars behind me. You know, to get going on the work, no matter what you're doing, if you're feeling well enough, show up and wear the clothes that make you feel good. Conduct yourself in a way that makes you feel good. Don't feel like you have to put on a dog and pony show for yourself, for people to buy into you. You want to be authentic. You want to be who you are. You want to operate from a comfort level and just take a step. So if you can't connect with 5 people a day, connect with 1. Start with doing 1 step, 1 thing. Make incremental changes until you start getting comfortable, but always show up as yourself. Show up for what you can give, show up for what you have experienced and what you are now an expert in. And you are an expert in all things you. That's a whole other opportunity for you right there. You can look at that opportunity and say, what do I know? What can I bring to the table? What kind of specialized knowledge do I have? If I'm an expert in me, then how can I leverage that? Leveraging works both ways. And this is the really cool thing too, is that I love helping people. So as I'm asking them to help me, they know that they can come to me and say, but will you help me? And of course I will. And I'm also going to reach out to them and say, hey, you know what? I saw your Facebook page. I know you're launching your book. What can I do for you? Have you started a Facebook affinity group, for example, of basically, this is just people who love the author and their group, and it's really a fun and exciting aspect of being an author. But I can do what I can to help them. So leveraging works both ways. Bartering within your network is also freaking fantastic. And again, as you're just getting started and you look at, do I have more time, resources, or money resources? I have some things I have to get done. I've got the basic things that I need to get done. I'm not sure how to set up my business in terms of taxes. I'm not sure what type of logo I need. I'm not sure if my Facebook page is, you know, the true representation of what I'm trying to put out into the market. I'm not sure of these things. I need some content written. I'm not sure about that. So you can refer to your network. And if you've been selective in who you include in your network, and these are high-level performing people who are out there, who are pushing themselves, who are similar to you in that way, then you can ask them, hey, do you think you could do this for me? I can do this for you. And that's how you get your business built when you don't have a lot of money. I did that with my website. I've done that with a number of other things. And I continue working with some of those people to this day. Now I can pay them, which is awesome, but it's definitely an option for you. I love when you're selective in your network that you're going to find people who have the same type of mindset and mentality. That's why when I open my Facebook page, it is like being hit with 1,000 mindset coaches that are telling me, have you thought about thinking about it this way? Have you thought about thinking about it this way? Have you thought about this approach? So I'm leveraging my network in my own personal way every single day that it's paying off, where I'm rewiring my mind to receive abundance. And that is just the tip of the iceberg of what you can accomplish when you start to open up and you start to receive what you have, what you're deserving, because you're working for it, and what's coming for you, and what you're willingly going to take in with gratitude. Always taking it in with gratitude. Thank you for that. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for seeing me. We're always using gratitude. So that wraps up this module. I don't really have any homework for you on this module. I just want you to keep working on your networking. As always, if you have any questions, you can reach out to me at jhillmark@gmail.com. That's jhill with 2 L's @gmail.com. My email is also going to be on the resources page. You can click on that, send me an email, let me know how things are going. Let me know if you have different inspirations that are popping up as a result of taking these modules. I'd love to hear it, how it's going, how you're feeling about the information that you're receiving, and the value that you're getting from it. If you have suggestions for how to improve it or other things that you would like me to talk about with other people, please let me know that as well. So that closes up Sick Biz Business Module number 5, and we'll see you shortly for number 6. Thanks.